Hello there. What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be doing the impossible, a double onager build, and we're going to try some crazy stuff to have fun with this build. If you guys aren't already familiar with Ryan Kingston's fleet builder, I'm using Ryan Kingston's fleet builder. It's a great Armada fleet builder. I'll put a link to it in the description below. Also, if you are new here to the channel, I would love for you to subscribe. All you have to do to enter to win the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway is just to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. Also, hop in Discord, join the community there. We have links down in the description for Discord. We have giveaways that happen in Discord, usually after live streams, and plus there's lots of communities for Armada, Legion, X-Wing, various sections for all of those, as well as other board games in general. We're very family friendly over there as well. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump into this build. We are looking at running 2 onagers, and not everybody's going to have 2 onagers. And one of the things that makes it hard to run, too many large ships is the fact that you start to load up an onager, you start to put super weapons on there, you start to give them required upgrades and maybe a title, and then you start getting really high points. Plus, you need to put maybe something else like probably not gunnery team, maybe ordnance experts if you're going to be firing those super weapons at long range, all of that, right? Forget the old way of thinking. I'm trying something all new, and I want to run basically naked onagers. And what I mean, they're going to be virtually naked. I'm going to run 2 onager test beds. This is less than half of our fleet right now, and it's already 20 hull points and lots of shields. So how are we going to make this work? Well, first off, you don't have to put a super weapon on an onager. Now, obviously, there's some advantage to doing that because, you get to extend your ignition firing arc. But what you may not realize if you're maybe newer to the onager, if you haven't picked one up yet, is you do not need to run a super weapon. This one has ignition medium and this one has ignition long. But any onager has, by default, ignition short. So you can do that close range ignition attack, which is still extreme range. It's still longer than long range, and it still is throwing black dice at or beyond long range. So you're still getting a tremendous attack with an onager. And honestly, a lot of my games, most of the special attacks, most of the ignition attacks have not been at the medium or long special range. They've been kind of a little bit closer to the actual normal long range mark because ships try to close on you. So there's a couple advantages to doing this, and it's one that we're saving points. That's probably the biggest advantage. But the other advantages with approaching this is that your opponent might think that you're a little silly because they probably haven't seen too many onagers run mostly naked before, and they probably also are going to just think, hey, it's safer to approach now. So we're going to punish them a little bit if they want to get safe to approach, because we're also going to add other ships. And that's really the beauty here. When you're usually going 2 large ships, a lot of times you don't have much room for else. So you might see large ships with maybe a flotilla and squadrons and things like that. We are going to have a flotilla, and we are going to have some squadrons, not too heavy. I've done a couple of squadron heavy builds lately. I'm not going to do a squadron heavy build this time. What I am going to do is I'm going to put a Gazanti in there, and that's going to be our carrier. He is going to have, of course, the lovely and mysterious Darth Vader crew, which will allow us to get some rerolls, which will be very, very helpful for all of those black dice firing out of those onagers. That's always going to be a fun thing to do. And to make those onagers work, we are going to put a little bit of upgrades on them. I did say we were going to have them lightly upgraded, right? So we're going to put a skilled first officer on each of those ships. And that is going to give them, of course, obviously the ability to discard, their top dial if they need to. But really, that's a 1-point reroll for that perfect shot where they really need the reroll, and that's what Darth Vader is going to do right there, and it's going to do that one fairly well. I'm also going to add a victory, and this is another fun one. And this one is going to be another black dice. This is going to be a black dice heavy build. We're going to go with a victory 1, and we're going to make this one Harrow. Harrow is one of my favorite titles in the entire game. It really kind of transforms the Vic 1, and while it can be good for just about any Vic, I especially like it for the Vic 1, especially when you run somebody like Admiral Ozzel on here that is going to pull double duty as giving us our rerolls with Vader, plus giving us a speed 1 move at the beginning, and of course we're going to get all kinds of extra special love. When executing a speed 1 maneuver during your determined course step, you may change your yaw value to 2 until the end of your activation. So, of course, Admiral Ozzel is going to let you do a really fancy, nice, if you deploy this victory on a little bit of an angle, as far forward as you can at a little bit of an angle, and then kind of turn him the other way, the way that you actually want to go, you can get some distance. You can get a decent amount of distance out of that, which I really enjoy. So what else can we do here with this guy? We're gonna outfit this Vic 1 quite a bit because not fully, but we're gonna put a lot of points onto this Vic 1 because we want this guy to be scary. I want you to look at this list and say, well, those Onagers aren't equipped properly, so they don't know what they're doing. So let's give them engine techs to the Vic, because that just goes along. That's kind of why you put the Hero title on there, so this guy can now bypass that speed 1 or 2 requirement. Now can go speed 3 with Ozzel. He can effectively go a little bit beyond speed 4 on the first turn. If you started out with a hard 2 kind of angled, you can get just about a centimeter past where a normal range 1 straight move would do, and then you combine that with like swiveling and using the width of your ship to your advantage, and you can kind of push a Vic 1 very, very far on the first turn. It's not the fastest ship in the game, but it is potentially very, very fast this way. Speaking of fast ships, I feel like I want to sing Tracy Chapman's Fast Car right now, because I'm also going to put engine techs on both of the Onagers. Okay, that's going to do it for upgrades. But that is going to also, I saved this one for this point because Onagers usually kind of want to hang back, but we're going to play these a little bit differently. Because they can't deploy that super weapon so early, I want them to, start doing crazy maneuvers. Maybe you deploy them at speed 2, and then you do that nav first turn, go up to speed 3, engine techs to get a little bit closer with a large ship. And now all of a sudden you're deploying that ignition arc, and while your opponent thought, oh, I'll be fine, they suddenly realize, oh, maybe I'm not fine, and now you're getting a great ignition shot, much sooner than expected. And you didn't even have to pay the points for a super weapon for it, so you're saving points that way. Of course, you're going to lose those special critical effects, but hey, you know what? That's okay. Your opponent was going to evade both of the critical dice away anyway, so you don't have to worry about that, right? You get them next time, but you're still going to have a lot of damage, and that's going to be fun. And you're also going to scare people too, and you can set up like crisscross applesauce with the if you want to set these guys in an X pattern, you can do all kinds of cool setups with this, but your opponent's going to want to charge. All right, they're going to want to charge you. If you fly these two close together, they're not going to have as many avenues to try and flank you, because if they try to get around one, the other guy will be on the other side. And that's kind of where the Vic comes in. You kind of have to look at where they're going to try and charge you from and put the Vic on that side. So you want to be like, oh, you want to get around this way? You got to face the front arc of my Vic 1 that also has engine techs and is going to come blow stuff up right in your face. So we're going to give this guy, since he's going to be shooting lots of black dice, we're going to give him Ordnance Experts, and I'll also toss in the Assault Concussion Missiles. Now, Ordnance Experts now only lets you reroll 2 black dice, but we do have Darth Vader to kind of mitigate the really, really bad luck roll, so we could always sacrifice Ozzel if we really needed to. And this is about all we're going to put on this ship. I recognize that there's a turbo laser slot there waiting for something juicy and good, and I haven't even used a modification. I mean, quad batteries isn't going to work here. We're going to be flying the Vic 1 fast. Spinal armament would work. XI7s would be great, but I just don't have the points for it because I have other things I need to put in this build. I mean, we're getting close, but we have not added a commander yet. You probably have noticed that. And I said, hey, I can get a lot more stuff on here if I go with a cheap, a 20-point commander. I could fit a couple of things on here. And I was thinking, boy, I really like Ramadi, especially with the Onagers, but I just don't see Ramadi working with the Gazanti or the Vic 1 very much. And and that kind of changes some of the things that I have to consider putting in. Maybe I want to put an interdictor in there to move things around. And so what I decided is it makes a lot more sense to use Tarkin. And I came to the decision to use Tarkin before upgrading both of the Onagers with engine techs. But now that I'm going to have Tarkin, I'll be able to have nav tokens for days, and now I don't have to do full-blown nav commands, although I still can if I want to. But yeah, it gives me a lot more flexibility on being able to do squadron commands or concentrate fire or the eventual engineering. And so I think it'd be really cool to be able to do some fancy maneuvering like that. And again, like I talked about, using the Onager on the first turn to do a nav command to sneak up, to go from speed 2 to speed 4 effectively on a ship that really only has speed 3. So I think that'll be fun. Now, where do we put Tarkin? That's an interesting question. I had initially thought the Victory won, but at the same time, I changed my mind and said, no, the Onager has more hull and more shields, kinda, a little bit weaker on the sides, but I think the Vic 1 is going to be really trying to push up close and personal in people's faces. And the Onager, while it will do that early, it will also probably slow down once it gets, to just outside of long range. And then it'll be slowing down and using engine techs for maybe maneuverability and to line up future shots. So I think I want to have Tarkin on one of these. And this will also give you an emergency reroll if you absolutely must with Vader. Because Vader can also choke out the commander. Now, that's not the point of putting Tarkin here. He's still not cheap, right? He's up to 28 points, or down to 28 points now. He's cheaper than he used to be, and I'm itching for an opportunity to use him. I think this is a good one. Handing out navs almost every turn is going to be cool, but it's also time to add squadrons here. And I'm going to do something I haven't done in a little while with squadrons, and I'm going to add a good friend of mine by the name of Valen Rudor. I really like Valen Rudor. I think he's going to work even better now with the changes to intel. People having grit is always not nearly as bad as giving all of my stuff heavy, so I can put Lambda shuttles in this build, and now all of a sudden they have to target my Lambda shuttles, and even if they have an intel that comes in, they can't shoot Valen Rudor because he's not heavy, and now you're also engaged by a Lambda and Valen Rudor, or 2 Lambdas and Valen Rudor. So and they've got a lot of hull. They got hull rather. They got 6 health. So so they're not going to go down too easily, and they roll pretty decent against squadrons, and Valen Rudor rolls pretty decent against squadrons. And the other thing that's great is they've got strategic. We can stay far away with relay. Relay is not really the purpose of this, but the purpose is that they're hard to get rid of. They have strategic, which we're going to take advantage of when it comes to objectives, and Valen Rudor is really annoying. And so this is meant to really slow down an enemy squadron bomb that basically wants to come in and take out the Onagers. This should slow them down a decent amount, and accounts for a lot of the difficulty that's out there with squadrons, such as intel and grit and things like that. So, but the extra added bonus is strategic. So we are going to look at objectives now. First thing I want to add is our assault objective. And for this one, there is certainly an argument to be made for advanced gunnery. All right, I could pretend. Now, you're not going to be able to do 2 ignition attacks with an Onager. You're not going to be able to do that, but it would be pretty cool to take 2 front shots with the Vic 1. This would have been cooler back when ordnance experts, or rather when assault concussion missiles could trigger multiple times in an activation, but it has to go now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with Most Wanted. I have extra long range. If I should be able to get lots of extra attacks on an opponent's flagship or whichever ship I choose. And heck, and I have a cheap Gazanti that I can make Most Wanted for them, so they'll get very, very few points. So I really like Most Wanted as an option every time I'm running a cheap Gazanti. For defense, I am going to look at, I don't do this one that often, but I think it kind of fits into the theme. It may not be the most tactical, but I think it fits into the theme, and I like this, and it's Planetary Ion Cannon. So Planetary Ion Cannon is going to let me place 3 objective tokens in play, and at the beginning of the phase, I'll basically be able to fire at your ships, and that's going to kind of go hand in hand with the Onagers firing from ultra long range. Like, they're firing from ultra long range, the ion cannons are firing from ultra long range, and then my ships actually, and then maybe my Victory gets to fire up close. And so, like, this is a really fun one. Plus, has the added bonus of my Lambdas being able to move those tokens around, because one of the big weaknesses of this one is somebody could just end up, like, dodging these tokens, and while that's great because it might give you some control over where the battle's going to take place, the Lambdas now kind of make up for that weakness, and that they can reposition those to be right where I want them to be. So that's a fun one. Well, also it's not like too threatening, like it's not going to ruin the game for your opponent either. And then an oldie but a goodie that I haven't run in a long time is minefields for navigation for our blue objective. Minefields gets you you get to play 6 objective tokens, and of course you're going to take some damage if you roll on there and roll some dice with paint or with hits or crits on them. And so that's a nasty card. And having 2 Lambdas is going to let me kind of put all the dice, or I can put, depending on how many squadrons my opponent has, or if they have strategic, I can put all the dice in one spot and just have the Lambdas kind of spread them out however I want throughout the battle. And let's just say this will be even worse if you do go up against an opponent with very few squadrons. That's also something just absolutely terrifying. So minefields will be a really fun one for this build, and we're going to have fun with the Lambdas. Like this squadrons will be able to do something other than shoot ships, because I think we have a pretty good amount of anti-ship firepower, especially if my opponent does pick most wanted. All right, you guys, this is the list right here. Boom, there we go. So take a look at it. But let me know what you think down in the comments section. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. And big thanks to all my patrons for continuing to support the channel. You guys are absolutely amazing. So I couldn't do this without your continued support. Thank you. And be sure to check the links in the description below if you're interested in learning more about other ways to support the channel. I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much. And as always, have a great day.